We were told that if we worked hard, bought the house, and climbed the ladder, we'd eventually feel secure. But for most of us, the harder we run, the further away that security feels. That's because the system isn't broken. It's working exactly as intended. I realized the American dream wasn't a goal. It was a subscription service I could never afford to cancel. Think about that for a second. You're making more money than you were 3 years ago. Your salary went up. Maybe you got a promotion, switched jobs for better pay, or finally started earning what you thought you deserved. And yet, you still feel behind. You still feel like one bad month could wreck everything. You still look at your bank account on a random Tuesday and feel a knot in your stomach that you can't quite explain. That's not a budgeting problem. That's not a discipline problem. That is a psychological response to a system that was never designed to make you feel like enough. My name is Ely, and I spend way too much time thinking about how people in the US experience money psychologically. If you're someone who earns a normal income, maybe even more than you used to, but still doesn't feel financially secure, hit subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. Because what I'm about to walk you through isn't a tips and tricks video. It's an explanation of why the anxiety doesn't go away, even when the numbers improve. And once you understand why, the way you think about money changes permanently. Let's start with a number that should feel ridiculous but doesn't: $75,000. For years, a widely cited Princeton study suggested that emotional well-being flatlined around $75,000 in annual income. In other words, earning more than that didn't reliably make people happier day to day. Now, more recent research from Wharton has complicated that picture, suggesting happiness can continue rising with income for high earners. But here's the thing that gets missed in both conversations. None of that research accounts for where you live, what you owe, or what you're comparing yourself to. A $75,000 salary in rural Ohio and a $75,000 salary in Los Angeles are not the same financial experience. They're not even close. After federal and state taxes in California, you're taking home somewhere around $55,000. Rent for a one-bedroom in LA? Easily $2,200 a month. That's $26,400 a year, nearly half your take-home. Add a car payment, which the average American carries at about $735 a month according to Experian's 2023 data. Throw in insurance, groceries, student loans, and a medical bill that showed up from that one ER visit 2 years ago that you're still paying off, and suddenly $75,000 doesn't feel like stability. It feels like barely staying afloat with good branding. This is where it gets interesting, because the math alone doesn't explain the psychological experience of money in America. The math is just the surface. What's underneath is something much more powerful and much more exhausting. The American financial system is built on a concept that psychologists call relative deprivation. It's the idea that how you feel about what you have is almost entirely determined by what the people around you have, not by what you actually need, not by any objective standard of comfort. By comparison, and in a country where wealth is constantly on display, through social media, through the cars in your neighborhood, through where your coworkers vacation, through the houses your friends just bought, the comparison machine runs 24 hours a day. The Federal Reserve's 2022 survey of consumer finances found that the median net worth of American families was around $192,700. Sounds decent, right? Except when you dig in, you find that the median is distorted by extreme wealth at the top. The typical American in their late 30s to mid-40s has far less saved than the headlines suggest. And yet the cultural image of what financial success looks like in this country, the house with the 3-car garage, the annual family vacation, the college fund that's fully funded, the kitchen renovation, that image has not changed. It has actually gotten more expensive. Here's what most people don't realize. The original promise of the American dream was access, not abundance. It was the idea that hard work could buy you a modest, stable life. A house that didn't drain you. A job that covered your needs. Enough left over to breathe. What it became, somewhere between the post-war boom and the rise of consumer credit, was something entirely different. It became a moving target. A lifestyle that expanded faster than wages could follow. Real wages in the United States, adjusted for inflation, have barely moved for most workers over the past 50 years. The Bureau of Labor Statistics consistently shows that productivity has risen dramatically since the 1970s, while compensation for non-supervisory workers has crept forward at a fraction of that rate. So we are producing more, working harder, and yet the gap between what we earn and what a successful life is supposed to cost keeps widening. And instead of questioning the target, most people question themselves. That self-questioning is the Ponzi scheme, not in the literal financial sense, but in the structural sense. A Ponzi scheme works by getting participants to believe that their returns are just around the corner, that if they stay in, keep contributing, keep following the rules, the payoff will come. The American dream operates on the same logic. You stay in school longer to get the better job. You take on student loans to fund that credential. You accept the entry-level salary because experience will pay off. You buy the house because rent is throwing money away. You take the promotion that comes with 60-hour weeks because eventually the title will justify the lifestyle. And then you look up 10 years later, making twice what you made before, and the financial stress feels exactly the same. The APA Stress in America survey has reported for years that money is the leading source of stress for Americans. Not relationships, not health, money. And notably, this stress is not limited to low-income households. Middle-income earners report it consistently. People making $80,000, $100,000, $120,000 a year report feeling financially anxious at rates that would surprise most people who assume income solves the problem. Now you might be thinking, okay, but some people really do get ahead. Some people really do feel secure. What are they doing differently? And that's a fair question. The answer is not that they found a secret investment strategy or followed some 5-step program. The answer, in almost every case that the behavioral finance research supports, is that they drew a line. They decided at some point, consciously or unconsciously, that the target was not going to keep moving. They decoupled their standard of living from their income growth. They stopped treating every raise as permission to upgrade their life. That concept has a name, lifestyle inflation, and it is the single most underestimated force in personal finance. Not because it's complicated, but because it's invisible. It doesn't feel like a mistake. It feels like progress. When you get a $10,000 raise and you move into a nicer apartment, that feels like you're doing what you're supposed to do. You earned it. You deserve better. And in one sense, that's true. But what you just did financially is reset your floor. Your new normal costs more, which means the next raise has to go somewhere too, because this floor now requires maintenance. Here's the thing, a $10,000 raise that gets fully absorbed into a higher lifestyle produces exactly zero improvement in your financial security. Your stress level might even go up because now you have more to lose. A study from Purdue University found that the income level at which emotional well-being peaks actually increases as people earn more because expectations rise in lockstep with income. The goalpost isn't fixed. It's attached to you. It moves when you move. Let's put some concrete math to this. Say someone earns $60,000 a year and gets a raise to $72,000. That's $12,000 more annually, about $1,000 more a month before taxes. After taxes, maybe $700. If that $700 goes to a car upgrade, because the old one was fine, but now there's a little more room in the budget, the financial position hasn't improved. Monthly expenses went up by roughly $700. Net security gain, zero. And this is not a hypothetical. This is the average American financial biography. Now look, this isn't about punishment or deprivation. It's not about living on rice and beans to prove some point. The psychology here is much more nuanced than that. What the research on financial well-being consistently shows is that security comes not from the size of your income, but from the gap between what you earn and what you spend. That gap, that margin, is the only thing that actually creates the feeling of safety. And in a culture that works tirelessly to close that gap, you have to be deliberate about protecting it. There's also something worth naming directly, the identity piece. In the United States, money is not just money. It is status, competence, worth, and belonging. The car you drive sends a signal. The neighborhood you live in sends a signal. Where your kids go to school sends a signal. The brand of your gym bag sends a signal. And when your income rises, the social expectation is that your signals upgrade accordingly. To not upgrade, to drive the same car after a promotion, to stay in the same apartment after a raise, can feel socially uncomfortable. Like you're doing it wrong. Like you're failing to claim what you've earned. That discomfort is manufactured. It is not organic. It is the result of 50 years of advertising, social conditioning, and a consumer economy that depends on you spending everything you make and borrowing a little more on top. The pressure to signal success through spending is not accidental. It is structural, and recognizing it as structural is the first step to not being controlled by it. Here's what a different approach actually looks like in practice. Not a fantasy, a real one. Someone earning $85,000 a year in a mid-size American city makes a deliberate decision when they get a 5% raise. They let 30% of the increase go toward actual enjoyment, a nicer dinner out, a weekend trip. They redirect 70% toward building a margin. That might mean 3 months of expenses in a high-yield savings account. It might mean accelerating a credit card payoff. It might mean beginning to invest a small amount into a retirement account that wasn't being touched before. None of this is dramatic. None of it requires sacrifice that most people would describe as painful. But over 3 to 5 years, the psychological effect is enormous because the margin grows, and growing margin is the only thing that actually produces the feeling that money stress is trying to take away from you. The feeling you're chasing isn't a number. It's breathing room. And breathing room is built quietly, incrementally, by people who stopped believing that the next raise would finally do it. The American dream was sold as a destination. Work hard, arrive, feel safe. But destinations require a fixed address. And the address keeps changing, driven by inflation, by comparison, by a culture that monetizes your insecurity. The people who feel financially okay in this country are not the ones who earn the most. They're the ones who stopped auditioning for an audience and started building something that was actually theirs. That's the realization. The game is real. The pressure is real. The math is real. But the finish line was never fixed. And once you see that, you stop running toward it and start building where you stand. That's where real financial stability begins. Not with a bigger paycheck, with a different relationship to the one you already have. If this landed for you, subscribe. Share it with someone who's making more money than ever and still can't figure out why they feel stuck. And drop a comment. Tell me where you are in this. Are you just starting to notice the pattern? Or have you already started pushing back against it? I read everything. See you in the next one.